of the UN Toolkit on synthetic drugs. My name is Stephanie Schmatz and I'm an Associate Drug Control and Crime Prevention Officer within the Unodc Laboratory and Scientific Service. After a short pause, we are very pleased to welcome you to this session within the Ask the Expert Live online consultation series, and this time on postal security with our long-standing collaborating partner, the Universal Postal Union. We will be holding these sessions approximately each month, and each session will cover a different thematic area related to synthetic drugs that is aligned with the modules within the toolkit. The Ask the Expert Live series provides a rare opportunity for toolkit users from around the world to consult directly with substantive experts from across the UN system, and today with the Universal Postal Union. And users will get real-time answers to technical questions. Through this activity, we are empowering our users to maximize the utility of the practical resources that are referenced within the toolkit. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all participants for joining us today, as well as our guest experts for this session, Mrs. Dawn Wilkes and Mr. Noon Adan. Before I will turn it over to the subject matter experts of today's session, I will start with a brief introduction of the toolkit and a quick walk through the toolkit website. As everybody is well aware, there is a global synthetic drugs problem that is constantly growing and evolving, and it is challenging global, regional, and national strategies and responses. Coupled with a still ongoing global health pandemic, it makes it even harder for member states to comprehensively address this dual crisis. So the more important it is to address this complex and evolving crisis in an integrated manner. Through two resolutions, the Commission on Narcotic Drugs called on Unodc, WHO, and INCB, and was calling for action in enhancing and strengthening international and regional cooperation and domestic efforts to address the international threats posed by the non-medical use of synthetic opioids. As a response to this, in 2018, the Unodc opioid strategy was developed, which is now coordinated by Ms. Asma Fakhri, Program Manager within the Unodc Laboratory and Scientific Section. The strategy coordinates wide-ranging integrated efforts to address the challenges posed by the non-medical use of synthetic drugs, and in particular synthetic opioids. And it brings together a wide range of expertise from Unodc and from across the UN system through collaboration with key interagency partners such as the WHO and INCB to leverage a unique set of complementary activities and programs and the expertise to support countries to build capacity to predict, prevent, and protect against the challenges posed by synthetic drugs, including synthetic opioids. And to further support countries to implement the strategy, Unodc, in collaboration with INCB and WHO, set out and established the UN Toolkit on synthetic drugs as a new and innovative approach to practically address the international threats posed by the non-medical use of synthetic drugs. As you already know, the UN Toolkit is an open source online platform which houses a wide range of cross-cutting tools and resources that help countries with the practical implementation of the guidance that is provided in the opioid strategy. I would now like to show you a short video that summarizes what I was just presenting, and I will go into a little bit more detail after. Sorry? So before the UN Toolkit on synthetic drugs was developed, there were many different services and resources all addressing the synthetic drugs problem, but very scattered across multiple UN agencies. And there was no coordinated one UN approach for member states to access information about the various aspects related to synthetic drugs. So imagine you as a member state are looking to address various fields challenged by synthetic drugs. You would need to consult numerous organizations and programs to find the necessary information. And what's more, you would need to already know what exactly it is you are looking for and most importantly, where to find it. So for instance, countries needed to refer to INCB about chemicals used in illicit drug manufacture, WHO about access to controlled medicines, and Unodc about forensic analysis methods for drug testing. But for member states, these topics are all part of the same problem, synthetic drugs, and the toolkit gathers all those cross-cutting tools from across the UN system, covering multiple areas of expertise, all in one place, in one single platform, and serves, so to say, as a one-stop shop offering practical tools to help member states identify solutions. But the toolkit not only houses all relevant tools related to synthetic drugs, with its integrated approach, it also represents a guiding framework enabling a wider understanding of the related challenges that help to identify practical solutions. So, for example, within the toolkit, member states may consult the early warning module and will be pointed towards what is needed in the first place to identify the most harmful, prevalent, and persistent substances in order to look at the different options for national legislative responses to control those substances. I will now start with a quick demo of the toolkit. Most of you already know what the toolkit looks like, and before entering the toolkit, you would need to fill in this registration form. This is the homepage of the toolkit, and the toolkit has been developed with the support of US State INL and Canada, and its availability in other languages was supported by the Russian Federation for the Russian version of the toolkit. And OASCCAT collaborated with us on the Spanish version of the toolkit. We are also looking to increase the global reach of the toolkit and make it available in all UN languages, starting with Chinese, thanks to the support of the Asian Forensic Science Network, as well as the French version that will be supported by Canada. And we are also planning to have the Arabic version of the toolkit by the end of this year. As I already mentioned, the global synthetic drug problem is multifaceted and is constantly evolving, and so is the toolkit. So new areas of responses will be added on a continuous basis, and new modules are already in development, such as prevention, cybercrime, as well as advanced investigative techniques and air cargo security. The toolkit is divided into different modules, and each module covers a different thematic area related to synthetic drugs. And today we will focus on postal security. One of the toolkit features is the Ask an Expert feature, which allows users to send their specific questions to a specialist. You can fill in this form and put your question on a particular topic or area to the fill in this form, and the opioid strategy will direct your question to the subject matter experts. Building on this feature, we are holding the expert consultation series and bringing this feature to life, so to say, where participants have the opportunity to put their question directly to the subject matter expert and bring toolkit users closer to the interagency expertise that is housed within the toolkit. In case you have missed one of the previous sessions, You can also listen to the recordings of the previous session here. Today, we are delighted to host the expert consultation session on postal security. And I will now turn it over to our guest experts, Ms. Dawn Wilkes from the Universal Postal Union, who is here with us today to present the Toolkit module on postal security. Ms. Dawn Wilkes has been seconded from the United States to the Universal Postal Union since November 2018. She holds the position of Security Program Manager, which facilitates the Postal Security Group Secretariat and all associate activities dealing with supply chain security. Furthermore, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Noor Adan, Supply Chain Coordinator within the UPU. Ms. Dawn Wilkes will give you a short demo of the postal security module, and after she has finished, she will answer to your questions. Some questions have already been submitted in advance through the Ask the Expert form, and you are invited to post your questions anytime in the chat, and Ms. Wilkes will answer to them in a question and answer session. Thank you very much for being with us today, and Dawn, you have the floor.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, and greetings to everyone attending the second session and final session today. So I'd like to thank you again, Stephanie, for all of your work in promoting and organizing this series of events. I know it takes a lot of back-end administration to get these events completed. And I also want to sincerely thank Unodc for the opportunity to participate in the Ask the Expert series, which contributes to a greater understanding of the toolkit itself. The Universal Postal Union is extremely happy to be a partner in the UN Toolkit on synthetic drugs, and we are happy the toolkit highlights postal security and the role that the UPU plays in assisting designated postal operators as well as others in mitigating threats and enhancing security of the supply chain in such a concise and accessible manner. And we're also very pleased that this is a developing toolkit, and it will continue to be enhanced throughout the months and years. Before I begin my brief demonstration, I would like to just provide a brief background on the Universal Postal Union. I did this in the previous session, and I'm doing this in order to ensure that everyone in attendance today has a basic understanding of who the UPU is and our primary purpose as an organization. So if this is your second time attending the session, you may hear some of the same concepts as the initial session, and I do ask for your indulgence. So to begin with, the UPU has a very long history. We are the third oldest intergovernmental organization after the Rhine Commission and the International Telecommunications Union. We were founded in 1874 in Bern, Switzerland, in order to create a multilateral platform to ensure the international exchange of mail, as well as the consolidated reconciliation of payments for international mail exchanges. And we have expanded from that point to many other aspects. The UPU headquarters remains in Bern to this day, where we have around 275 permanent and seconded staff members from all over the world who serve our 192 member countries and their designated postal operators. We recently held our 27th UPU Congress in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, and this was held in the first ever hybrid format for our Congress. We're now preparing to begin the Abidjan Congress cycle in January of 2022, based on the decisions that were made by our members this past August. We will also welcome a newly elected Director General from Japan and a Deputy Director General from Slovenia. As we all know, the pandemic has affected industry in a myriad of ways. And the ongoing pandemic has also severely affected designated postal operators the world over due to lack of air transportation, reduced cargo belly capacity, and increased challenges with maintaining adequate workforces, as well as the increase in small parcels, which has occurred as people have opted to continue to turn away from traditional brick and mortar establishments. The UPU continues to support our designated postal operators throughout these challenging times by working to strengthen relationships with external stakeholders like Unodc to ensure our members have access to the most up-to-date and relevant knowledge to improve the safety and security of the postal supply chain. And this toolkit is a primary modality to create this comprehensive understanding. I'd now like to begin the brief demonstration of the postal security component of the toolkit, which will consist of a brief walkthrough of very specific highlights of the section of the toolkit. The information contained within the toolkit, as Stephanie showed you earlier, is extensive. And I do encourage everyone on the call today to take your time to understand and work through each of the sections of the honeycomb, not just those specific to postal security, as well as the highlighted sections of the website itself. I'm also looking forward to responding to your questions today to help create a more robust understanding of the postal supply chain security. So let me begin by sharing my screen, and I believe that it is visible now. So you can see that I have already registered and I am currently inside the toolkit itself. And I will begin with the honeycomb on postal security, as this is the section we are dealing with specifically today. And then you can see that the landing page takes you directly to the overview of who the Universal Postal Union is and what we do. So you can learn a lot more about the different components of the UPU itself and come to a greater understanding of the different convention articles and regulations which govern our member countries and their designated postal operators. The security measures and tools is an interesting section which I would recommend exploring. This has quite a bit of public information which is available to you to utilize as you see fit to provide capacity building and comprehensive knowledge to the public. So you can see here mitigation and response. This deals with the recognition of suspicious items in the postal supply chain and what to do about them. And if you enter into that area of the toolkit, you can see that it will take you to the UPU campaign, which we call Keep Me Safe to Get Me There Faster. And this campaign has been going on for quite a few years now, and it entails a variety of videos which deal with different types of dangers which could be in the postal supply chain. And you can get some more information on the videos. You can use those videos also on your own to provide to customers. We also have posters which are available for download, which you can utilize on your own, as well as pamphlets. So you can enter into each of those sections and learn a bit more about each one and explore the videos themselves. I am not going to do that. I did not mean to click on that. I will return back to the security measures and tools. I also want to highlight capacity building. We do a great deal of capacity building, both in virtual training as well as before the pandemic when we were able to travel. We did quite a bit of physical capacity building. And you can enter the capacity building site and you can see a link to our Train Post website. This is our online training website, which is designed for our designated postal operators to gain more knowledge about postal security, as well as disaster risk management and other aspects of the postal supply chain. So all of our training is available to our designated postal operators here through the Train Post website. And then the last section that I will speak about today is the electronic data interchange or electronic advanced data. Some of you on the call today may be quite familiar with electronic advanced data, as this is mandatory now for in the UPU convention, as well as many national regulations such as ICS2, the STOP Act from the United States. There are many countries which require electronic advanced data to be provided ahead of time. And you can see a very brief overview of what that data is and the basic flows of how that data is transmitted. So that is a very basic understanding of the electronic advanced data aspect. And now I will end my brief demonstration and take any questions that you may have. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Dawn, for this very useful background information on the UPU, as well as the comprehensive overview of the module and its practical tools. And I already see a lot of registrations rolling in to have a closer look at the UPU resources you were just walking us through. I would now like to open the floor to questions, and we kindly invite you to post your questions within the chat. The first question, Dawn, would be, can anyone become a member of the UPU?
Thank you, Stephanie, for that very good question. And so how someone can become a member of the UPU, there are 3 different ways. So first, any member of the United Nations may become a member of the UPU. Second, if a non-member country of the United Nations would like to join the UPU, if its request is approved by at least 2/3 of the member countries of the UPU, then that country may become a member. And then the third option is for postal stakeholders that are not public postal operators or regulators. They can add their voice to the Universal Postal Union's deliberations through the consultative committee. The committee itself represents the interests of the wider postal sector and provides a framework for effective dialogue. So if anyone on the call is interested in the consultative committee, I would recommend going through the toolkit and entering into the UPU website and learning more about the consultative committee and the options to join the consultative committee. So thank you very much for the question, Stephanie, and I hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. The next question, what are the biggest gaps in the ability of UPU members to detect and prevent synthetic drugs in the mail? And other than by increasing knowledge of the problem, what specifically can be done to address this?
Thank you, Stephanie, for the question. That is a great question, and a question that we examine quite a bit here within the Postal Security Group to try to understand the biggest gaps in the ability of our UPU members to detect and prevent synthetic drugs in the mail. In the question, it says, other than by increasing knowledge of the problem, that is definitely one of the primary methods that we use, is to create that understanding and capacity building so there is an awareness of the problem and what the problem is. The other methods that we use are, we do have what we call our prohibitions list in the UPU, and this is through our customs standing group. They manage that prohibitions list, and the prohibitions list, it actually has partnerships with our external stakeholders such as INCB, and the listing of all of the prohibited synthetic drugs internationally are provided to the UPU, and that list is reconciled with the prohibitions listing that the UPU holds, and it also is, it communicates with, I feel like I'm getting very technical here because this is a very technical question, and I don't want to lose anyone on the call. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. But basically, the list communicates with our customs declaration system, which is a system that is developed by the UPU Postal Technology Center for our designated operators to utilize to be able to transmit electronic advanced data. So that is one method that is a technological method to be able to recognize these items that shouldn't be in the mail stream, other than just knowledge of the problem. But knowledge of the problem is the absolute first step as far as we view it here, and we do need to continue to create that awareness and build that understanding, as well as continue to create the partnerships between UNODC, INCB, as well as Interpol to help access all of the resources that are available to our designated postal operators to help mitigate and eventually stop the synthetic drugs in the mail stream. So that was a long answer. So thank you very much for the question. It's an excellent one, and I definitely encourage you to take a look again at the toolkit and really take a deep dive into not just the postal security section. I would say take a look at our customs group and our customs section on the UPU website, because there is a tremendous amount of information on what I just spoke about regarding our prohibitions lists, as well as our customs declaration system and the different methods that we utilize to help on a technological basis to mitigate not just synthetic drugs, but all items that are not allowed in the international mail stream. So please take a look at the customs section also. So Stephanie, thank you. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Dawn, for this excellent answer to this excellent question. And I just want to quickly jump in to say that also UNODC is working with various partners to build capacity on drug identification, interdiction, and we're looking forward to expand this work to the UPU membership in the very near future. And we are also currently in the framework of the UNODC opiate strategy. We are working with UPU and other security experts and forensic scientists to develop guidelines for profiling of synthetic opioids in mail and small parcels, which will actually be launched this Friday during a press conference in Ghana. This guide will also be made available through the UN Toolkit on synthetic drugs by the end of this month. And furthermore, there will also be trainings where postal personnel will be trained on profiling packages which includes synthetic drugs and how to handle them safely. So thank you very much. Then next question from Dennis. Have other jurisdictions implemented or piloted any new rapid screening detection technology for letter mail? If so, what are the technology's limitations? Can they detect small amounts of powder, for example, fentanyl?
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Emily, for the question. This is a question that is also on everyone's mind, and there are quite a few different jurisdictions as well as private companies which have been looking at this and attempting to come up with a solution for a couple of years, at least since I have been here at the UPU in 2018. I know that this is something that has been on everyone's mind, and developing this specific screening for letter mail, because letter mail is extremely difficult to detect small amounts of powder, as I believe you know from the question. This is something which right now, all the information that I have, I believe there has not been a solution to this yet. It is hopefully coming, and it will happen soon, but letter mail right now is still one of the challenges that the postal supply chain has to overcome. So unfortunately, no. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much. I would also like to draw your attention to the forensics module of the toolkit, where you can also get more information on the science behind drug identification and reference to drug detection devices and kits, as well as training on drug identification for frontline officers, as well as forensic labs. Thank you, Dawn. The next question would be, are there national regulations which affect the security of the supply chain?
Thanks, Stephanie, for another good question. Yes, there are. There are quite a few different national regulations which affect the security of the supply chain. The one that probably a lot of you are familiar with, because I believe this call, we have quite a few people from the Americas on, is the STOP Act from the United States, which specifically requires electronic advance data to be provided on all items containing goods which enter the United States. And that was specifically, that was specifically developed to help mitigate synthetic drugs in the mail stream. There are also many other national regulations which are similar to the STOP Act. ICS2 is coming online, which is in the EU, which also requires electronic advance data. So this it's not just an isolated country which is requiring it. It's becoming more and more that many of the large countries, EU, Brazil, China, Russia, they all have these types of national regulations which are currently in place that require this electronic advance data. So thank you. That was a long answer to say yes, there are. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Dawn. And there is a question from Michael related to the STOP Act. When does UPU anticipate that all member countries will be able to provide electronic advance data?
Thank you. That is an excellent question. I actually see that my counterpart, Noor Adan, was raising his hand on the previous question. So I'd like, if you don't mind, Stephanie, to provide him the floor.
Sorry. My apologies.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, Stephanie, and good day all. Just to add on the earlier and complement what Don has said on the question about how national regulations do affect the security of the supply chain. Don has explained, of course, the different legislative frameworks that have come up around the world in terms of the impact they have on the security of the supply chain, and for the UPU to help and prepare its membership to comply with this regulation. The first thing the UPU did was to promulgate regulations in the UPU conventions, which are treaty-based, on all its membership to be able to comply with these regulations. And of course, this relates very well to the second question, and I will first give Dawn to respond to it, and maybe I will add on that. But the first thing the UPU did was to have a convention regulations for the entire membership of the 192 member countries of the UPU to be able to comply with these regulations that are affecting the security and the safety of the supply chain. Thank you very much. Dawn, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Noor, for the complimentary information. And regarding the question, the next question regarding when does the UPU anticipate that all member countries will be able to provide electronic advanced data? So as Noor said, the UPU has been working diligently with our member countries and their designated postal operators for several years to help build that capacity. We currently have a very large program which is ongoing. It's from our Common Fund. It's our EAD Common Fund program, which has over 100 and I may get the number wrong, 147 designated operators who take part in this program, and it started over a year and a half ago now. And this program is designed, it's actually run out of our Customs Secretariat and our Common Fund program. And it's managed to assist these designated operators who had challenges in exchanging electronic data to create that capacity, to create that knowledge within their employees, as well as to create and provide the technological tools for them to exchange this electronic advanced data. And currently, I believe there are, again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm not sure if I'm getting them correct. Noor, I know you know this, so I'm gonna hand it over to you. Go ahead, Noor.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Yeah, I think the numbers keep on changing because as the capacity building initiatives and support of the membership is going on, we keep on getting new members who are developing the capacity to be able to send the electronic advanced data. But the last count we had was we are, at least capability-wise, 182 member countries are capable of sending the electronic advanced data out of the 192 member countries of the Union. That is capability-wise. Of course, capacity is what the project is addressing, including the US Tide Fund project, which the US is really helping in and focused on the electronic advanced data and postal security, and is going a long way in helping and enhancing both the capacity in electronic advanced data transmission and the postal security. So the last count also I have on this for the month of July, I believe, is that 56% of all items that contain goods have pre-advised data globally. Of course, you can imagine the volumes that go through the UPU's postal network in terms of the volume. So that's a quick update of the figures as of now. But the question is, when will the UPU be ready? Obviously, it is encouraging. But the regulations did come into effect from 1st of January 2021, as I said. So the countries that are not complying, definitely they are revamping their capacity to ensure they comply. The other main regulatory requirement is, of course, the as Donna said, the European Commission's import control system, famously known as the ICS2, that was supposed to come into effect in March 2021, but now was extended. The hard deadline was moved to October to give countries again to get prepared for that. And coincidentally, I just got as we are talking now, I got a question, an email from the Commission asking me to also give them the figures of what the global state of the data transmission is. So it's something that is dear to all of us, and the UPU is working hard to make sure that the network is not disrupted because of non-compliance of EAD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the two of you for this very comprehensive answer. There would be another question from Emily. In the context of illicit drugs being increasingly trafficked through the postal system, how is the balance between postal service and delivery standards, privacy and public safety effectively managed? What consideration should be taken into account to address known or suspected shifts in trafficking?
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Emily, for the thought-provoking questions. So I think that this is something that is a two-part question. So the first, in the context of illicit drugs being increasingly trafficked through the postal system, this is something which we're trying to ensure that we have the full understanding of. So that comes with correct reporting and tracking, which is sometimes difficult to assess on an international level. There are national systems in place, but not necessarily international systems in place. So this is where we look to find those synergies with our partners such as World Customs Organization, again, INCB, Interpol, to understand what the international picture actually is. So that's something which we've been working on for quite a few years to understand and to be able to pinpoint where those different issues may be at either origin or destination. So we also, again, look at other items that shouldn't be in the mail stream, such as wildlife, trafficked wildlife, IP counterfeit items, IP crime. So we're looking at the whole holistic issue. But as far as, so the first is coming to an international picture of what exactly is happening and where those trends are, so we can have that greater understanding. And then the second part of the question, the balance between postal service and delivery standards, privacy and public safety, effective management. So this is, again, there's a lot of very thought-provoking questions here, and all questions that we are examining here at the UPU and through the Postal Security Group and our other standing groups. So these are some items which are very sensitive, as you know, regarding privacy and public safety. The entire reason why electronic advanced data was initiated was due to air transport safety and the preloading advanced cargo information, which came out of the incident of the express carriers and the printer cartridge explosives bombs. So that's where it all originated. And it has advanced from there to be utilized as an additional method to help further secure customers and postal employees. So that's where we get into, I think, the privacy issues, especially for countries like the United States or those in the EU that have very strong privacy regulations. So this is something that is usually looked at on a national level and has to be reconciled with what the international requirements are. And this is where it comes into bilateral agreements, as well as the data sharing agreements. The multilateral data sharing agreement that the UPU has in place was just recently approved, and now it is available for all of our member countries and their designated operators to utilize to help give them the protection which is needed and available through that multilateral data sharing agreement. So there are methodologies in place through the UPU that can assist our designated operators. And then again, what considerations should be taken into account to address known or suspected shifts in trafficking? So I think this goes back to the first part of the question, where it's important to have that broad-based understanding of what the flows are and what is happening, and working with not just postal operators, but working together to find those synergies with your customs operators, with your local law enforcement, as well as others, to help understand the entire picture and work together to help identify what's happening specifically in your own country and help either stop it at origin from leaving or stop it when it arrives from actually being delivered. So it's all what I call our cooperation and collaboration, which is so important on the international level, the national level, and the regional level. We have to continue to break down the silos and talk to each other and provide the necessary information and communicate and get that relationships built between law enforcement and international organizations to help mitigate these issues. So thank you, and I hope that was at least some part of the answer to the question. Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks, Emily.
Thank you very much, Dawn, for this answer. So I'm afraid, but we already reached the end of this session. But I have to say it was a very interactive, excellent session, and there are still a couple of questions in the chat. So if you put a question that hasn't been answered, one of our guest experts will answer to your question with an email. Or if you haven't posted a question, please feel free to write an email either to the opioid strategy or fill in the Ask the Expert form. Considering the time, we will close the session now, and I will leave the chat open in case more questions will be asked. But I will also invite you to make use of the Ask the Expert feature within the toolkit. I would like to cordially thank everybody who took the time today to join the session on postal security of the Ask the Expert live series. And I also would like to really thank Ms. Dawn Wilkes and Mr. Noon Adan for your time of being with us today and providing these excellent answers to all the very interesting questions, and to share your specific expertise related to the postal supply chain. So thank you very much for being with us today. And again, I will leave the chat open in case there will be more questions, and we will be happy to direct your questions to the experts. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a